I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing technology vision in Edina Public Schools. What we're calling is Learning and Leading, a vision for technology and information services here at Edina Public Schools. But first, I want to just have a small little discussion about change and about technological evolution. Here's a quote that I think is pretty informative. It speaks of a technology gift, but that when it was first arrived, there was a lot of apprehension about what it meant to our society and how it was going to change. The interesting thing is that gift was the gift of writing, and it is a Socratic story. More recently, in the 70s, there was a technological advancement that at first was banned, but now has been proven to increase SAT and ACT scores. That is the Texas Instrument Calculator. And finally, here's a quiz. Do you know who the 13th president is? If you didn't know, how would you find out? Well, I bet most of you would say you'd Google it, and you'd find out it was Mildred Fillmore, and he was the last of the Whig presidents, and that that's at a critical time, and that this party kind of dissolved after it. But you'd know that there was two skills in there, knowing history and presidents, but also how to get information, how to access information, how to evaluate information. And I'm not saying one or other of those skills is better than the other one, but that both skills are important. And that, I think, is kind of the crux of how technology is evolving. Let me talk a little bit about the 4 technology goals in our vision. The first is unleashing students' passion for learning. Really the ability for our students to come wanting to learn and coming to our schools and feeling like they're getting something out of this besides a diploma and seat time. In order for us to do that, though, we need to understand some dynamics that have changed. And number one is how our students communicate. Here's an interesting story. My daughter, she's very social. She plays soccer. She's out playing in the neighborhood all the time. But when she's at home on a rainy day or we're sitting around and she's not reading her book, she'll want to go online or borrow my iPad or borrow the computer so that she can get into Fantage, which is a second life. She spends all kinds of time interacting in there, creating relationships, exploring, understanding, problem solving. Again, this is not any way to say that we need to change the way our social interactions are, but we need to be cognizant is that at earlier and earlier ages, our children are interacting and socializing in an online or virtual medium. And of course, that migrates to Facebook. We also know that our students are using cell phones and instant messaging more and more. Recently, I asked senior students at the high school if a friend wanted to get a hold of them, how would they do that? And they all said unanimously they would text them. Also interesting enough is they said that they would prefer not to have their parents and their teachers to be able to text them. Our students are getting information in a plethora of different ways. Still using the traditional books, they're still learning from their teachers, they're still using the libraries. Those are still critical aspects, but increasingly they go online and do searches like they do in Google. They access video and multimedia content in more ways. In fact, YouTube, the content on YouTube, every 60 days, more content is uploaded to YouTube than the broadcast networks have produced in the last 60 years. Now, granted, not all of that is good, but a number of it is good. And so how do we harness that resource, that huge resource, identify the bad stuff, but leverage the good stuff? And then Wikipedia. I'll be the first to say that information literacy is very important and that we understand how we access information and we look at information to identify whether it's reliable and accurate. But I believe Wikipedia is so powerful and is used so often, not just because it's a great resource of information, but because for the first time, students and people feel that they can contribute to the body of knowledge. So unlike the old encyclopedia where you waited every year to hope for an update, now a learned individual can go online and can contribute to that body of knowledge. phenomenal change in who owns and who's in control of information. Of course, we still have the online versions of Encyclopedia, but guess what? Encyclopedia Britannica this year has more people purchasing their online version than their book version, so it's still moving towards digital format. The tools our students use are critical as well, but they're changing. Our students, we need to ensure that there's computers for all of our students to access technology, to be able to get online, to be able to access information and create. But those tools are also changing the dynamic. Things like tablets and wireless technology allow our students to not have to go to technology in order to learn, but actually take technology to where they're learning. And that's a fundamental shift on where our students can and how our students access information. It also allows for 24/7 learning using online learning tools. And our tools are getting much smaller. An iPad Touch is a gaming tool for a lot of our students, but it holds that whole wealth of information that we can access off the internet. And how do we leverage that gaming tool that our students use as an information and a learning tool? And then, of course, our tools are becoming ubiquitous. This year, there will be more smart telephones sold which have internet access than regular phones. And more of our students are able to get these phones. And how do we leverage those so that our students can be accessing information, contributing in a classroom, but also being able to do learning off anytime, even outside our school walls? Indeed, as our students go to college, they'll be taking more and more classes online. This isn't a grand scheme of universities to save money and to change the way our students learn. I believe it is because our students like this medium because they get to decide when and where they're going to learn and access their information. Of course, going to those lectures are important and getting that information is important, but this provides that flexibility of the internet so that if they're busy or if they're preoccupied, they can go online later on, go back and do review at a different time and still get that learning. It puts them in charge of their learning. The second component of our vision is how do we empower and enhance our excellent teaching in Edina Public Schools. I really mean we have a fantastic group of teachers and educators in Edina Public Schools. How can technology be exponentially more powerful for those teachers so that they can be delivering the excellence that they know how to do? Of course, that starts off with a digital learning environment. It means having the access to the network and the internet and the information. It's providing them a computer and a projection system so they can display their content and create their content. But it also means a level of interactivity as well, such as having a projection system so there's video and audio, that there's interactivity so that they can be manipulating things in real time and saving that information, and that there's audio so that there's audio enhancement in a classroom. It also means that we're providing our teachers training, our face-to-face classes, our staff development classes and technology integration, but also increasingly what we're calling just-in-time learning. The ability for a teacher not to have to stop their teaching because they get a technological roadblock. Things like virtual office hours where we can actually come in virtually, remote into their computer and help them solve problems. And we understand that our teachers love innovation and love to use the new tools to innovate and be strong in their learning and teaching. Things like our Google Apps, which allows for cloud computing anytime, anywhere. Podcasting and video production of their content that actually allows us to change the way we deliver our instruction. And again, the miniaturization and the mobilization of technology. So technology goes to the learning as opposed to the student having to go to the technology. Our third vision is how do we engage families in a partnership for learning? That means providing the families with information so they can make informed decisions of how their child is doing. information that they're going to use to let them know if their son or daughter is doing well, and then also asking them for help, personalizing their learning like they would personalize a health plan or personalize a financial plan. And education should be that same way. We also need to effectively communicate. That means a dynamic website that allows us to put information up quickly in a calendar format or communicate in blogs and wikis, and it means pushing information like using email and our new SchoolView communications module where we can push updates up to our parents and our students. And it also means using the telephone, because the telephone is never going to go away, and it's a critical communications link for emergencies and for our parents that don't have internet access. And finally, how does DMTS, or the technology department, demonstrate this same excellence that our teachers have in our service and delivery and productivity? That means we have to do more with less. Budgets are tight. We understand that. We need to make sure that the investments that the community is making in technology is being maximized, so that any technology is put in, that our staff are trained, and that our community knows that those dollars are being well spent. We need to partner with our community. For instance, how we partnered with Google to provide Google's apps for education to all of our students and teachers at no cost to the district. We need to be effective. That means that we need to be able to provide a network and technology in a 21st century world so that it's global, you can access it anywhere, that it's mobile, that it's self-directive, that it's collaborative, transparent, and always on. That takes a number of resources to do. And for technology, we have to understand that technology is going to change. What started off as a typewriter when I went to school turned into a computer, became netbooks and smaller, put more power on a smartphone than I had going to school, and it's only going to continue to change. I have a technology plan. That technology plan talks about our mission, our philosophy, that we are known for our excellence in education, and technology helps us continue that we have our goals, that we have benefits from those goals, and that we have key initiatives. I encourage you to take a look at the technology blog page and our technology page to stay up to date on this ever-changing initiatives. I think that goes a long way in explaining our vision for technology. It's a vision that is constantly changing, and because of technology's changing. It needs resources in order to complete, but our vision is still the same, and that is our students and passion for learning, our teachers and empowering them. It means that education is a partnership that does not start and end within our school, but continues on with our families and our community. And it means taking the advantage of technology for efficiency and effectiveness in our organization.